Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing really well. Heidi's been a little chatterbox, sat beside me in her high chair. She's got some toys, she's got some finger food, she's loving life. If you do hear her throughout this video, that is why. So today I wanted to talk about and do a really quick video about how I stopped expressing. I feel like this is a video I should have filmed ages ago, but I've only just got round to it. And I just wanted to talk to you about how I did it. How I unintentionally did it very quickly as well. I imagined doing it one way, but it ended up happening another way. So I'll go into detail about that and basically how I feel the other side of it, because I feel like the biggest thing about me stopping pumping or deciding that that's something that I want to stop was the emotional side of it. And I felt like I might be letting Heidi down and there was guilt and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about how I felt after too. So I hope that this video is helpful for anyone, and if you are considering stopping but you're not sure, or you're doing some research and you kind of want to but you don't know if you should, then hopefully this video helps you. I was someone that was very uncertain, but at the end of the day it came down to what was best for me and best for Heidi. Obviously, by deciding to stop, she's no longer getting breast milk, which is something that I kind of struggled with at first, but day to day we're much happier. I certainly am much happier, and it's less demanding for me. By exclusively pumping, it takes out so much time, because if she just breastfed and she latched on, it's there and it's instant and it's great. Whereas I was pumping before every 3 hours for like 20 minutes, and to keep her occupied for 20 minutes every 3 hours without like my hands and without having to hold her just wasn't possible. And that's kind of why I decided to stop. It was getting too much. I'm at home on my own kind of day and night most days, because Rich works nights, so it was really demanding for me, and it was something that I just knew was best for us, even though really I would have liked to have kept doing it a little bit longer. It was just a decision I had to make. So let's dive straight into this video about how I stopped and how it ended up being a very quick stop too. So I first decided that I was going to stop around 3 months of Heidi obviously being into the world, and the decision really didn't come lightly, and like I kind of mentioned, it was just too much to try and keep her occupied. From 3 months onwards, she really wanted to start moving and wanted to be held all the time, and kind of just putting her down. She wasn't content with that. She really wanted to like do more. So it just became too much for me, and it was just a decision that I knew I had to make much sooner than I needed to. I always kind of wanted to get to 6 months and stop, but it just got to a point where it just got too much, and I'm happy to admit that. So I decided from 3 months onwards it was something that I wanted to stop doing, but there was so much guilt. I think that I felt more guilt for that than I did anything else, because you know, you are told that breast milk is best, and of course I kind of know that, because that's why I really wanted to give it such a good go. She never latched on in hospital, and she just wasn't going to. Even the nurses, obviously, like, they ended up sending me home without her latching on, because it just wasn't something that was going to happen. Every time that she did, she was just falling asleep, or she just wasn't doing it properly, and she just wasn't into it, basically. So it just never happened. She never really latched on properly. So I was pumping from the very beginning. It wasn't a choice that I made kind of down the line. It was basically made for me in hospital. So I continued doing it for like 3 months, and in those first 3 months, they're newborn, they sleep all the time, it was fine. And not that I enjoyed it, because I don't think you can really enjoy it, but I knew that the benefits were more so than the cons, because obviously she was getting the best milk and she was content. She was just falling asleep most of the time. And obviously Rich was off for the first 4 weeks, so that made it a lot easier that if I needed to pump, he took Heidi if needed, and it was fine. Whereas as soon as he went back to work, it became so much more difficult. And obviously because he works in the night, it made it even more so difficult. So I decided I was going to stop around 3 months, and then from 3 months to 4 months, it was me trying to decide how to do it, and then I kept going to start to stop, and then I kind of wouldn't, and it took me a while to like actually say, you know what, this is going to be like the end. So at first I basically tried to start pumping less. So I knocked down my 15-minute pumps to 10 minutes so that my milk supply would dwindle down a little bit, but the consistency of pumping stayed the same, because I felt like that would be the best first step to try and make my body stop producing so much milk, because I had such a large milk supply that I knew trying to stretch out the times in between each pump wasn't a good place to start. So I started with that, and that made it more comfortable for me. I wasn't getting as engorged, and because I was still pumping as consistently, my body very quickly tuned into the fact that basically I didn't need as much milk, and so I wasn't making as much. So that was like the first step. And then I continued doing that for a while. I think they say make an adjustment, that your body gets used to it, and then do the next step. So my next step was my intention was to basically stretch the time between each feed. So instead of every 3 hours, it would be every 4 hours, and then do that for a week, then 4 to 5. And then basically that will start cutting out feeds within the day. However, the way that I ended up making such a dramatic jump to stop doing it was that I ended up going down to my mum and dad's for dinner. I do so all the time, I'm very close to them, and I completely forgot to take my pump. And I was with Rich at the time, and I got there and I was like, oh my God, no, I forgot my pump. And Rich said, well, you know, you've kind of wanted to stop, so why don't you try and not pump for as long as you need to? If you really need to pump and you know that you like need to pump pronto, let me know, I'll pop home and get the pump stuff, because we don't live that far from my parents, so he'd be there and back in like 15 minutes. So I was like, okay. And we were down there for about 6 hours, I think. Yeah, about 6 hours. And I was like, I got a little bit engorged, and I knew I really had to pump, but I think as soon as I took my mind off of it, the feeling went away a little bit. And so when I got home, I pumped, and there was obviously quite a lot of milk because it had stored up. But then I just tried to do that 6 hour period again. So I pumped when we got home, which was the last pump before bed. And then I pumped again when I wake up in the morning, which is what I normally would do, because obviously overnight is quite a long period of time, which was about 8 hours. And then because I'd done a 6 hour stretch and then an 8 hour stretch, I then tried, after I pumped first thing in the morning, I tried to do another 6 hour stretch, because I had done that the night before, and I was needing to pump, but not as badly as I thought I would. So I basically tried to do that. So I woke up and I pumped probably around 7 o'clock, and then I didn't pump for the next 6 hours, and my body was fine. It almost like it adjusted overnight, and I wasn't engorged, I wasn't in pain, and it was surprisingly more comfortable than I thought, especially as I had read and I'd watched so many videos about people saying that you need to stop pumping slowly to prevent obviously being in pain and stuff. I did suffer with mastitis before I decided to stop, which was another factor. So I was worried about like milk ducts getting blocked and then causing me pain, because pumping and having mastitis is the worst pain. But again, my body just almost knew that it was time to stop. I didn't get mastitis during the process. So after that 6 hour stretch, I pumped again for 10 minutes because I didn't want to increase that. I didn't want my body getting confused. And then I went another 6 hours, and that was my last pump of the day. So I literally like overnight went from like 6 pumps a day to 3 pumps a day, and my body just adjusted, and it was weird and I didn't think it would happen. And so from then I just tried to go longer periods, and I tried to slow down my pump amount. So I then focused on trying to cut out the middle pump, because before bed and when I woke up, I kind of knew psychologically that that was something that I needed to keep doing. But if I could get rid of the like midday pump, that would be the start of the proper end. And so with that one, I just started pumping for less. If I knew that I needed to pump for longer, or I had more pain than I might have had some days, because depending on how your child feels, like if they have, for example, they're teething and they're crying a little bit more, your body makes more milk in response to that, which is crazy. But I was lucky with those couple of days that Heidi was really like good as gold, and luckily there wasn't any problems that made my milk supply increase at all. And so with that middle pump, I went from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. I started doing that the week after, because it was such a big jump to go from 6 pumps a day to 3 pumps a day, literally from one day to another, that I didn't want to like make my body do anything weird. So I kept doing that for a week, and then the following week I decreased the middle pump to 5 minutes, and as soon as I did that, I think my body just really dwindled the milk supply to the point that I was literally only pumping. After that, I was pumping for 5 minutes and my body's milk supply went so down. All I was really doing was pumping last thing at night. Even when I woke up of a morning, if I wasn't in pain and I didn't feel like I needed to pump, I didn't. And then from there, you just kind of listen to your body. So I then started cutting out the first pump very quickly, because when you're going to stretch for that long in the day, your body kind of rebalances itself and then doesn't need to pump for as long. So it then got to a point where I'd wake up of a morning, didn't feel like I needed to pump, so I didn't. And then if throughout the day, for any reason, I felt like I needed to pump, I would for 5 minutes, more so for relief than to actually empty my boobs. And literally from that, I just stopped pumping. And it got to a point where I then didn't do the last pump of the day. And I think there was only one time where I stopped both, and it got to a point where I was like, actually, you know what? I'm going to pump just to get rid of any excess. And that almost basically like emptied my boobs out for the last time. I was pumping about 2 ounces, and so I just basically stopped from there. And we've stopped ever since. Now, being the other side of it, like I mentioned before, I decided to stop pumping. I was really, really worried about how guilty I would feel and how almost let down Heidi would be by it. But as soon as we moved her over to formula, she was absolutely fine. Like, she didn't struggle taking it. She drank just as much formula as she did breast milk. I think the first thing that my midwife told me when I had my booking appointment was, are you going to breastfeed? Here's all the information you need about it. And I think from that point onwards, there was a lot of pressure to breastfeed. And I think as a first-time mum, I wasn't able to say no. I obviously tried it, but I think next time around, if my next baby doesn't latch on, then I don't think I'd go down the exclusively pumping route again. I obviously don't know until you cross that bridge, but it was just a lot for me. It was really demanding. I like the fact that it helped me lose a lot of the baby weight, because it helps burn a lot of calories. It's just so hard beyond the newborn stage, and I really, really do take my hat off to people that do it for like ages. There's been a lot of people that I watched for inspiration on YouTube and like help with how to do it that said that they had like exclusively pumped for like a year and a half. I just don't know how they do it. But Heidi remained as happy, and I think for me that's what I had to focus on. It's really easy to feel so guilty for a lot of things, especially as like parents. You literally feel guilty over everything and anything. Like if you don't go for a walk one day, you feel bad. It's just an abundance, but I feel like you have to just focus on the positives. Heidi remained happy. She's still developing a lot. She's still putting on weight. And that's all that really matters. If I could have continued, I would have 100%. It just got too much, and basically that's how I stopped doing it. I know that was really rambly and not sure if it will be helpful to anyone, but I just wanted to share my experience because there's a lot of information about how to breastfeed and the benefits of doing so. When it starts affecting your mood, and like when we were going out and I'd have to pump in McDonald's toilets with her on the floor, like that's not ideal. I'm sorry, like that's not good. But she's so happy, and yeah, that's basically my experience. I feel like there's not enough information on how to stop breastfeeding, whether you go down the exclusively pumping route. So yeah, I hope that this video has been helpful. Give it a thumbs up if it has been, and let me know down below what method you use to stop, because I know that this method might not be suitable for everyone, but it really worked for me, and I literally stopped pumping within the month. So I just feel so much better for it. My boobs are now deflated and ruined, I kind of want to say, but I'm so happy that they were able to provide food for Heidi for the first couple of months of her life. By the time she was 4 months old, that's when we like properly stopped, and there was no more breast milk. But I'm much happier now, and looking back, it was definitely the best decision I could have made. It was the hardest decision I had to make, but I just feel so much better for it, and yeah, I'm really happy that I've stopped. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.